and thank you for coming out tonight. I would like to introduce our honored guest, Sherry Bailey. A lot of you are familiar with her here, but for those who aren't, she's a local author, just written her first book, Sherry, correct? Yes, Given Up, an inspirational story. So if you could just, true story, if you'd all give a round of applause and a warm welcome to Sherry Bailey, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I was going to introduce myself, but apparently not. I know everybody in the room. So I don't have to do that brief introduction. As Tammy just said, I've written a book entitled Given Up, which is an autobiographical account of the road my life was put on because of the adoption process. I was adopted at the age of 6 weeks. Given Up tells the story of my search and find of my birth mother and all that occurred because of that connection, and then the ultimate prize of being united with my whole birth family. I wrote this book, which took approximately 10 years to complete, for a few reasons. I felt that since I had gone through the process of a search and knew from exploring the shelves of bookstores and libraries that there is virtually nothing in book form that gives an adoptee that is searching or wants to search any idea of where to start looking. So I decided I would make it a mission of mine to try and help as many individuals as possible by writing this book. I also need to state that I'm a Christian woman. My faith is very noticeable on these pages because of the undeniable and truly unbelievable turn that my story takes. I categorize these turn of events as miracles, but I certainly leave it up to the reader to decide for themselves. There are numerous aspects of adoption which this book may bring enlightenment to for adoptees who are searching, for adoptees who have never been inclined to search, or for people who have given little thought as to what an adopted person's life can be like. Over the centuries, there have been literally millions of people who have been adopted, each with a different story. I have devoted a few chapters at the beginning of this manuscript to supply information about adoptees and some statistics that have been taken in regards to adoptees. Throughout these pages, I explain the route I personally took on my journey of discovery and give advice about other avenues that are available for adoptees to explore. When I did my search, I made detailed notes on all that I did and where I went for assistance. That journal was extremely helpful when I needed to chronicle all that information into my story. I would like at this time to just do a short reading for you. The place of my birth was Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, at the Grace Hospital, which was affiliated with the Salvation Army. The Army managed a section of the hospital devoted to the care of unwed mothers. Actually, they managed a whole building right beside the main hospital called Bethany Home, where mothers could stay for months if necessary before their babies were born. The woman that gave birth to me went into labor at approximately 5:30 p.m. and I was delivered at 10 p.m. on a cold winter's night. In the 1940s, there were children adopted by what was termed the independent method, where the mother retained her legal right until the courts finalized the adoption. In the hospital where I was born, a woman who gave birth was expected to care for her newborn baby totally. 6 weeks was the time needed for an adoption to be arranged or for foster care to be implemented. During this time, the new mother took on all the chores of feeding, changing, and caring for her infant. What can I say about my mother? I monopolized her before her marriage and before any of my siblings were born. For a period of 6 weeks of my life, she was mine and I was hers. It was the only time in my life that I totally belonged to someone exclusively, as I did not have to share her with anyone. At the end of 6 weeks, I was taken away from her, not to see her or to have any contact with her, until I was 32 years of age. I had been a part of this human being. I had lived inside her body for 9 months. Everyone on this earth has started life in the same way, but most infants get to know their mothers on a personal basis. I was to be denied this basic nurturing by my birth mother because of the adoption process. Although the new mothers had comfortable and free surroundings, it must have been unbearable to get attached to these infants just to have them removed so abruptly on a designated day. I truly cannot fathom how these women totally cared for their babies and then had to give them up. Bethany Home was a home for unwed mothers and was not to be used in any way as a daycare for children. That was the reason why these mothers had to care for their child until the courts processed the adoption or did the paperwork in order to put the child into foster care. My book covers the reasons why I was put up for adoption, the years of searching for my mother, the actual find, and all that came about. The tears of happiness that flowed between myself and my birth mother, the eventual disclosure of my find to my adopted parents, and how extremely difficult that whole situation was for all involved. I tell of my trips by air to a few destinations to meet with birth relatives and how all of those scenes played out. I'd like to do another reading, but first I need to give a little bit of a lead up to it. When I found my birth family, they lived in California. In November of 1981, I made my first trip there. Everyone had scheduled time off from their work so that I would be staying with as I was going to be staying with each individual person. They had a total itinerary planned for me. This is the day after I had arrived in California. When I finally woke up on Sunday, I realized I had traveled to California, met all my siblings, and had gone through an emotional ringer, for want of a better term. And only one day had passed. I could only imagine how the next 2 weeks were going to unfold. I remember comparing my thoughts and emotions to a roller coaster ride. All the ups and downs. Wow, I thought, I'm going to be in for some ride. All I had to do each day was to make sure that I was in the right attire for whatever I was told I would be doing, and then just wait for things to take place. All of the decision making had been planned by others. It was all so easy. Everyone was being so kind and considerate to me. It is very understandable why a person has to be 18 years of age before starting a search legally. Even at that age, I feel that the outcome could be detrimental for some adoptees. Here I was, 32 years of age, and my emotions were all over the place. The only way to truthfully define all that I had gone through in my life because of my adoption, and all that many other thousands of people like myself have gone through, is to say that it can be tough. There have been many times throughout my search and all the years since the find that I have been so grateful for all that has been given to me. But there are really no words to convey how confused and mentally damaged I often felt because of the variety of compartments I had to divide my life into to keep from hurting the people that I loved. The publisher of my book did an edit on my manuscript. The feedback that I received I thought worth sharing, as the publisher deals with hundreds of authors and their books, and so has a pretty good handle on what is good story material. The editor wrote the following: Given Up is a heartfelt and honest memoir and guidebook that focuses on the author's adulthood search for her biological parents and relatives. Adopted when she was young, the author invites readers to see what it takes to reconnect with biological relatives and what to expect, both the good and the bad, when a find occurs. Thank you for the opportunity to edit Given Up. This story is encouraging and beautiful, and I believe it will make a big impact on your readers. Well done. This editor also stated that she very seldom ever sends personal notes to the author of the books that she edits. But I feel I needed to know what she truly thought, and she certainly gave that all to me in the letter that she sent to me. Because of the way that this true story unfolds, I felt without a doubt that it needs to be told to anyone who would listen or who would purchase the book. There are many very emotional parts of this story that I am totally unable to read because I would get extremely teary-eyed, even though most of what that is on these pages happened decades ago. I will leave the very emotional parts for the reader to discover, the highs and the lows for themselves. Apparently my timing to have this book published in 2016 was ideal, as there is so much on television and in the written word about adoption. I've been selected by my publisher to be one of 200 authors worldwide that will be attending a literary festival in Toronto in September of 2017 that is called Word on the Street. In 2017, this festival will be celebrating its 25th year. The authors come from Europe, Asia, Australia, the United States, and of course Canada, but mostly North America. They estimate that between 7 and 800,000 people attend. I'm very humbled that my publisher has so much faith in my story. They feel that the subject matter is a topic that is very current and should sell quite well. I'm very grateful for the time that you've given me to learn about my book, and I appreciate Tammy and all that she's done with advertising for this night. I'm very happy this time to take any questions that you might have, and then be glad to autograph any books that you wish to purchase. Books will be available for purchase here at the library if you wish to purchase one, or maybe after reading my book you may wish to get one as a gift for someone, so they will be definitely here in the library.
Sharon, what was the most surprising thing about the process for you when you were going through it?
To be honest, everything was a surprise. There was so much that came at me. I think when people are adopted and they do a search, their main objective is to find their birth mother. That's the focal point. I was pleasantly surprised when I also had a birth father and siblings that came with the package. So that was a massive surprise to me, not just to find a birth mother. I was put up for adoption in January of 1949, and my parents married that same month, and they went looking for me, but they couldn't get me back. So as a result, they married and had 3 more children. So I have a brother and 2 sisters that are real blood, which is amazing. They say only 3% of people that give up children for adoption ever in fact marry.
Yeah.
Parents?
Yeah.
What about them? You have a question about them?
I was just wondering, like, did you still live in Ottawa? Like?
I did. Yeah.
Uh-huh,
Mm-hmm.
right. And, you were with them then like 18 years? 32 years?
I lived at home until I was 23.
23?
Mm-hmm. And they did a wonderful thing. They were living in Florida when I found my birth family. And I went down to tell them. And I left them to discuss it after the shock. And when I came back, they said, really the kindest thing, when we're gone, you'll still have family.
Right.
Pretty amazing.
Right.
Yeah, they were wonderful people. And they're right, because they're all gone now.
Sure.
They're all gone. And now I've got this extended birth family, so it's wonderful.
Mm. Well,
So your siblings, are they here in Canada, Sharon?
They all live in California. That's a pretty bad place to have to visit, but
not bad.
Siberia or something. They all live in California. Except my birth father, who is still alive, and he lives in Virginia.
What was the reason for the migration then, Sharon?
For him to go to
Well,
Virginia?
Yes, your family.
He divorced my mother many years ago, decades ago, and he moved to Virginia. And she has since passed, but he is still living. Yeah. And probably the main reason for me to have been given up for adoption was that she was 27 and he was 19. 1948, that's not looked at very well.
Right.
But there's an awful lot in these 135 pages. People think, well, it's a pretty small book. I could have written volumes, but I just wanted to get the main facts down and to give people an idea of how to do a search. Because, as I said, there's a lot of people out there that have no idea how to start.
When
Yes.
did you decide to pursue the search? How old were you then?
I had just turned 30. When I was 29, I had a hysterectomy. That was my main focal point then, to look for blood relatives, because I knew I would never have blood relatives because of that operation. Really put me into a downer, should I say. So that's when I decided it was time to start looking. And I started to look in November that year that I turned 30. And that very January, my mother started to look for me. Within 2 months after 30 years. If she had not been looking, I had not been looking, probably maybe we wouldn't cross paths because of her being so far away. But that was kind of amazing. Yes?
Did you know for a long time you were adopted?
I probably found out when I was 3.5 or 4, like I've always known.
Okay.
I cannot remember being told I was. I've just always known.
There wasn't a secret to you.
No, which is a good thing, you know. Yeah. Lots of stuff out there about adoption, and people just don't dwell on it so much or think about it if they haven't been or haven't got anybody close. So this book really gives an idea of what a person goes through in their life. Wondering, always wondering. And when I was little, the biggest thing for me was always the medical. You go to a doctor and always, what medical history do you have? I have no idea. I could have heart problems and not know it. Yeah. So it's a big thing to not have that medical history.
Good thing that you were told you were adopted.
Yes.
What makes you say that? Why was that a positive experience for you?
It was positive for me because now that I've gotten much older and through my life running into a lot of people that are adopted, and I've heard some pretty bad horror stories. My mother didn't tell me until I was 21, this kind of thing. And it can really damage a relationship. That person feels that they have totally lived a lie. They're not my parents, I was always very, very glad that I knew because of the stories that I've heard since. It can be very damaging.
It scared you from the shock.
Well, yes, yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Some of you in this room have already read the book, so you know all the answers. Well, that's fine. I do have some over here. If there's anyone interested tonight at all in purchasing books, they will be available, as I said, here at the library, and they will be here at the library for many, many months to come. So if anybody is not wanting one tonight, but think maybe later on they would like one, they certainly will be here at the front desk. Terry can look after you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. Not everybody gets that. But I do have a question if you want me to say Sharon or Sharon. Matters not. Diane says, so we have to have Sharon, because that's what it says on the cover.
We call it that for
And one for Teresa. She is H-E-R-E-S-N. Yeah, I'll go for that. I always make very sure before I start. All over the books, yeah.
I think Timmy Tom put you down there. I think he's the research we started.
That's a good idea. Yeah.